Hello there, my name's Gary Sims, Randall Authority. Now, the competition amongst the smaller Chinese OEMs is certainly heating up. Over the last year I've reviewed several devices by Elephone, and today we're going to be looking at their latest offering, the Elephone P7000. In an attempt to distinguish itself from the myriad of plastic low-end phones coming out of China, Elephone has put some extra effort into the design of the P7000. First of all, it includes a metal bezel, which instantly gives the phone a high-end look and feel. The bezel is made of magnesium, which Elephone says has great strength and lightness. Now, I hadn't heard of this particular alloy myself, but a quick bit of research reveals that it is an aluminium alloy with magnesium and small amounts of copper, nickel and tin. Although more expensive than aluminium, it is indeed known for its strength and low density. Elephone points out that the use of a metal bezel means the P7000 won't bend in your pocket, and that the magnesium also has good electromagnetic shielding characteristics. Another interesting aspect of the P7000 design is its range of colours. Out is the standard black, and in are gold, white and cool grey. On the front of the device is the 5.5-inch Full HD display, the front-facing camera, an earpiece and the home key. Integrated into the home key is a breathing, pulsing LED which can be configured in the software to change colour when you have notifications, messages and calls. On the left and right of the home key are the menu and back keys respectively, but there aren't any actual markings on the phone. However, this is less troubling than you might think, since I already know where the button should be and I tap there instinctively. However, for new users coming to Android for the first time, this might be a little difficult. Down the right hand side is the power button, while the volume rocker is on the left. Both are easily accessible when the phone is held in your left hand. On the top you'll find the 3.5mm headphone jack and the micro USB port. On the bottom are two speaker grills, however there is only one speaker. Flipping the phone over you will see the prominent Elephone logo, the camera lens, the flash and the fingerprint reader. The 5.5-inch display on the P7000 is okay, but not brilliant. It is an IPS display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080, and that works out at 400 ppi. Overall the definition is excellent, but the colour reproduction is fair to middling, with colours lacking vibrancy and the white sometimes seeming pale. Having said that, the viewing angles are great. The display is reasonable when used indoors, however I found that it could do with being a bit brighter for outdoor use on sunny days. As with most displays, the lacks are really only noticed when you place the phone next to another device with a better display. However, when used in isolation, the display seems to be more than adequate. It's just not stunning. It's also worth mentioning that in the box is a toughened glass screen protector. Not a piece of plastic that you stick over the display, but an actual piece of Gorilla Glass 3. The only downside is that you need to stick it on the phone yourself. At the heart of the P7000 is the MediaTek MT6752. It is an octa-core Cortex A53 based processor which is coupled with a Mali T760 GPU. A quad-core version of the same processor can be found in the Elephone P6000. The Mali T760 is certainly a powerful GPU, and while the Cortex A53 has a lower performance than the Cortex A15 or even the Cortex A9, it is a good entry point into 64-bit computing, and it works well with Android 5.0 Lollipop. One key thing about the Cortex A53 is that it is ARM's super power efficient 64-bit processor, and the MT6752 uses 8 of these cores, all clocked at 1.7 GHz. My experience of using the P7000 is that overall the processing package is fast. The UI is smooth and rapid, and multitasking is a breeze due to the 3 GB of onboard RAM. Overall the P7000 handled everything I asked of it, including gaming and video. In terms of benchmarks, the P7000 managed to chalk up a score of 53.4 frames per second on Epic Citadel in high quality mode. And Tutu gives the P7000 a score of 45,034, and it managed a score of 6,234 on 3D Mark Ice Storm Extreme. The phone comes with a 3450 mAh battery, which is a great size for this device. Since the P7000 has a 5.5-inch display, then it made sense for Elephone to use that space for a bigger battery, and I'm glad to see they didn't go down the ultra-thin path and sacrifice battery capacity. What my testing showed is that the battery is great for this device. It will last all day, that's from morning to evening, without any problems. I ran my customary set of tests, and on one charge you'll be able to play intensive 3D games for at least 5 hours. And for those of you into multimedia, you can get about 5.5 hours of YouTube streaming over Wi-Fi in full HD. The phone has a single speaker on the bottom edge, and overall I was quite impressed with the sound quality considering this is a mid-range phone. However, don't expect the same fidelity as you would from a high-end flagship phone, as music can sound tinny and in general there is a lack of depth.
When the better plays, how can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side, and now you gon' be with me for the last ride. It's been a long day without you, my friend.
In terms of internal storage, the device comes with 16GB of flash and has a micro SD card slot, which accepts cards up to 64GB. Thankfully, unlike other MediaTek based devices, the storage isn't divided up and you get access to the whole lot, which is around 12GB once you leave space for Android. It's worth mentioning that the P7000 does not have a gyroscope sensor, but it does have an accelerometer. And the result is that you can't use the phone with Google Cardboard or other VR applications. This phone has a 13 megapixel rear facing camera and a 5 megapixel front facing camera. The sensor in the rear facing camera is from Sony, and Elephone has coupled it with a large f2.0 aperture lens. Overall the pictures are crisp, but they seem to lack punch even in good outdoor lighting. Using HDR can help in some situations, but it isn't a cure-all. However, the low light pictures are much better than I was anticipating. The combination of the f2.0 aperture and the support for ISO 1600 means that you are able to take pictures without the flash in many indoor situations. However, the laws of physics still demand a certain amount of light entering through the lens, so don't expect wonders. For those of you into video, the rear camera can capture at full HD at 30 frames per second. The included camera app at first glance looks like the standard open source app. However, it seems to offer a few more features beyond HDR and panorama. For example, the camera options include anti-shake, smile shot, 40 picture continuous shooting and auto scene detection. The video options include noise reduction, EIS and time-lapse mode. You can also change things like the exposure level, the scene type, the white balance, face detection and so on. Overall, the app is fairly comprehensive and includes some special modes like object/motion tracking. If you'd like to see some more sample shots, then please check out the written companion on AndroidAuthority.com. The P7000 runs stock Android 5.0 Lollipop. You get access to Google Play and all of Google's services like YouTube, Gmail, Maps. However, most of them are not installed by default. The device supports over-the-air updates, and since its official launch, Elephone has made at least one new firmware release. However, the default firmware on my review device had a glitch, and that while it says it supports OTA update, it actually doesn't. The phone checks for the updates and even downloads the new software, but when it comes to actually updating, I used to get the error, "Your system was damaged, wireless update has been disabled." Although it sounds serious, the phone does actually continue to function normally. The solution is to download a new firmware and reflash the phone. After the reflash, everything works as expected. A few days after I flashed on the new firmware, Elephone released another OTA patch, and this one downloaded and installed without any problems. The supplied version of Lollipop is basically stock Android with the standard launcher and an app drawer. There are a few extras included for things like the fingerprint reader, the pulsing notification LED, known as the Harlequin LED notification in the settings, and the screen off wake gestures like double tap. The fingerprint reader is located on the back of the phone just below the camera. It is a 360-degree reader, which means it doesn't matter how you place your finger on the sensor, it will still be able to read it and recognize it. This is particularly important since most of the time you will use the reader while using the phone, which means you can't see the reader, and depending on how you hold the phone, your finger will be placed on the sensor at different angles. Overall, the sensor works well. The number of misreads is actually quite low. The initial setup is quite easy and just requires you to place your finger on the reader several times until the fingerprint is registered. The default security mechanism is for the fingerprint unlock, which only unlocks the phone with your fingerprint. And there you have it, the Elephone P7000. It costs $230, and for that you get a phone with a magnesium metal frame, a fingerprint reader, 3 GB of RAM, full access to Google Play and Android 5.0 Lollipop. Well, my name's Gary Sims from Android Authority. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, please use the comments below to tell me what you think about the Elephone P7000. Also, don't forget to check out Android Authority's website, androidauthority.com. And as for me, I'll see you in my next video.